The main event today, guys, we have Dr. Jane Melia.
A few years ago, I founded a company called Harvest. And this is all about how do we get gas out of our homes and replace it with something which is cleaner and more comfortable, but do it without breaking the bank.
You can only go as high as your communication will allow you, like as good as your communication is. Basically, if you suck at speaking, you're just not going to run a very good company. Buckle up. If you're listening in the car, get ready because the show is going to begin. Welcome back to another episode of the Winners Club podcast, where even when we don't win, we learn, and learning is a form of winning. I'm your host, Brian Tran. I got my co-host here, PJ Padua.
Hey guys, what's up?
A special guest, Mia.
Hi.
And the main event today, guys, we have Dr. Jane Melia.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show.
PhD genius, Dr. Jane Melia.
Yeah. Amazing, doing wonders in the industry, guys. Like she's a tough cookie in the industry, guys. So you're gonna be really excited to hear her story. So other than that, Dr. Jane, please just give us a little bit of introduction of yourself and what brought you basically here.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure. I'm looking forward to the conversation. So why am I here? Well, a few years ago, I founded a company called Harvest. And this is all about how do we get gas out of our homes and replace it with something which is cleaner and more comfortable, but do it without breaking the bank. And that's what we did with Harvest. And you know what? It's been really successful, because what we do is when we deploy our systems, people's bills go down by 30%. They're future-proofed against, increasing rates. And in addition, they also cut their emissions by about 90%. So if you care about the planet like I do, it's a slam dunk. So that's really, the story behind why I'm here today. But before that, I've been working in energy for a long time. I've been in 4 other startups before founding Harvest.
Wow.
And so I've seen what works really well. I've seen also what can go wrong.
Were you founders in those companies as well?
I was not, but I was kind of working my way up the hierarchy. And so I've been in cases where we grew the company and then ended up just being 3 of us in a room and we had to shut it down, or in cases when the company really started to work really well. So I learned a lot. I got a lot of bumps and bruises and hopefully a little bit of wisdom from the process. And I've been trying to apply that with my co-founders to Harvest. And so far, it's going pretty well.
I love it. I mean, when we came across your profile, and I wanted you on the show for a number of reasons. Number one being that we are heavily in the real estate industry. It's all about saving money. And in our case, in our apartment buildings, if we can cut gas prices and PG&E bill down, that helps bring up our net operating income. And if you don't know, guys, if I can bring down the expenses and up my net operating income, it raises the value of the building. And in some cases, if I'm saving a few $1,000s a month, it brings up the value by a few $100,000. So that's why I want her on the show. But even further than that, I wanted to bring her on the show because founding or building a startup is not easy. And there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of mistakes. And the more that we can learn and avoid those mistakes, the more successful we're going to be. So that's what we're going to dive into, guys. So buckle up. If you're listening in the car, get ready because the show is going to begin.
Yeah, guys. And this is not just some normal startup. I mean, what they've done with Harvest is completely amazing. I mean, just recently they've acquired $4 million in funding to propel this business, right? So it's not a small startup, right? This is something that is really profound, and we're going to deep dive into it. But Dr. Jane, I wanted to ask, prior to all of founding this company, were you like in school prior? Did you always have this dream to build a business, or how was kind of that prior to starting this?
Pretty much. I mean, I'm an engineer by training. I've got a graduate degree in fluid mechanics. I love digging deep into how things work. And I've had a strong interest for clean energy for as long as I can remember, right? It seems like magic. You can get electricity from the sun. You can get electricity from wind. Wow, how does that work? So that's always been exciting. You may hear from my accent, I come from Europe. I was able to come from Europe to the Bay Area a long time ago with corporate America. But once here in the Bay Area, I could see all this bubbling of innovation happening. And I was like, okay, I really need to jump. I want to try that. I want to get in. I want to start innovating. So I joined a startup company in solar back in 2008, so a long while back. It was such an amazing ride. I had the time of my life just helping grow this business, being aware of everything that was going on, having a real impact, right? That's the beauty of a startup. You have an impact, whereas in corporate America, I mean, it's got great things about that, but the impact that you can have as an individual is somewhat limited. In a startup, there's no hiding, right? Everybody is responsible for what happens to that company. Absolutely love that. So worked in 4 other startups, so energy storage, solar cells, concentrated solar, as well as a stint in a quantum tech company, which was another story, before saying, okay, now I'm ready, I'm founding my own. And to be honest, I would say I should flip that. I came up with the idea, and the idea, once I tried it out, was so compelling that I thought, I've got to start this, because if I don't start it, I will forever wonder why I didn't.
Yeah.
If we were to scroll this back to 2008, do you think you would have ever been in this position of founding a company? Or like at the time, because what I'm trying to dig is people always think, was it already in you to start a company? Because most people who work for others, they don't really want to start their own thing.
You know, I had this running whiteboard in my house with all these dumb ideas about, let's do this. Oh no, that's a dumb idea. Oh, let's do this.
Yeah.
That's a dumb idea. So I had always been thinking about ideas, always. And, you know, they often didn't pan out. And maybe some of them could have worked. Maybe with the right skill set, they would have worked, right? It has to be something which has, you know, potential for market adoption and for which you have the skill set to enable it to happen.
Yeah.
And just this one, you know, we can talk more about it, but we ended up testing it in my house and my electricity bills went down by 42%.
Wow.
And so that's when I thought, okay, this really has the opportunity not just to be actually good for the planet, which it is, but you can only have impact if you can have scale. And scaling means you've got to save people money. And so this was like, okay, it does both. So let's do this.
Yeah.
So you built the first prototype in your home.
Me and my co-founder did, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I definitely want to hear like the story of how the idea kind of emerged, right? Because I feel like those are so, you know, those are basically pivotal moments for, you know, the business. So how did the idea come? Did you have it like before, or was there more, like, was there a problem that you were facing that you kind of stumbled upon and just...
I mean, a decision was forced upon us, right? I live in a creaky old house up in the East Bay, and we had a gas furnace that was really old, and it definitely was time to replace it. I, having worked in solar and so on, I was very aware I didn't want to burn any more gas in my home. Just, you know, for context, 2/3 of the energy that we use in our homes is for just 2 things, heating and hot water. And that represents about 90% of the gas that we burn in our homes. Right? So it is a huge deal. So I was thinking, okay, gas furnace is about to die. Here's the opportunity to put in something cleaner. That means a heat pump. But then when we looked into it, we figured, well, okay, heat pumps are great. They're wonderful devices. They move heat rather than generating it. So that means they're many times more efficient than even the best gas furnace. They are the future of heating and hot water. But the reality is, when do I need to heat my home? At night and in the morning. So if that heat pump draws electricity at night and in the morning, it's not taking clean solar electricity, it's using the dirty electricity, the more expensive electricity. So I thought, okay, so this is good, heat pumps are good, but you know what? They could be so much better if I could run the heat pump in the middle of the day, store that heat up, and then deliver it, your hot water, your heating, whenever you want it. Wouldn't that be nice? And that's when the light bulb started popping, which is, we can do that. You know, you need a hot water tank anyway. Use some fluid mechanics, use some smarts, use some controls, turn that tank into a heat battery, a thermal battery, and you can then run your heat pump whenever you want, when it's most efficient, when it's cheapest, and deliver your heating and hot water whenever you need. And that's when we did it. And our overall bills, I mean, gas and electricity combined went down by 42%, which was like, okay, that was another light bulb, which is this is going to work.
Yeah.
In fact, we have almost a duty to try it out. And that's when we founded the company.
Wow.
So you founded a company.
Yeah.
Walk me through this, because I did you bootstrap the company in the beginning, like to get it off the ground?
We did. I had another job. And so I was doing nights and evenings. I mean, many founders on the phone know that experience. So you're starting to file a couple of patents, apply for a couple of grants, do some slight improvements. I mean, the first system, to be honest, in my basement didn't look very pretty, right? So start to improve it, start to get some more automation, some more controls. And then I was very fortunate, after about 9 months, we were able to get our first small grant. And I was also able to negotiate going down to half time at my other job.
Wow.
So that was great. So I was able to pay myself a little, could get some money from my other job and keep working there. And then was able to help grow the company. And then we were able to get more grants, and I was able to, myself and my colleagues then were able to go full time and all in.
I never even thought about looking at grants. Are these grants really for any startups or more just in the energy field?
You know, I'm most knowledgeable about the energy field. I think there are grants in certain sectors. Certainly in the energy space, there's a lot of opportunity there. And anybody who's working in this space, look into CalSeed, look into the National Science Foundation, look into the California Energy Commission. They are really looking for innovators because they have problems to solve, right? And they need people, you know, like your
mind blown.
Your listeners to do
I'm
it.
really mind blown.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, because every company I started have always been money that I had to work hard and come up with. So to know that there are grants out there like that, that's amazing.
There may even be some for some of your endeavors. So give it a look.
I'll look into it. Mia, we got to look into it.
Coffee grants, some boba grants.
My question is, so did your previous startups, did they build you up for this, or do you think it was like not necessary?
For me,
For some of the new founders out there listening.
You know, I think there are two ways to start a startup. One is straight early on, just cold turkey, just go in, and you're going to get a lot of bumps and bruises, but you're going to learn a lot. You're going to have a lot of energy.
Yep.
And you might not have as many family commitments as you do later on in life.
Right.
And then somebody like me, which is I'd been to 3-4 startups before, I knew I could do this. Or at least I knew a lot of the things that I needed to put in place that allowed me to steer it. So and that's what I'm seeing, you know, when I meet a lot of CEOs and a lot of founders in my journey, and they're either, you know, pretty young, or they're more like, I've been working for 10, 20 years and I've got this, and move forward.
Do you think one's better than the other?
No, not really. No.
I just had to ask. No. I mean, I don't think there is either.
No.
You're trading time for experience, and sometimes, you're right, less bruises, less...
And in a company, you need a mix. Right?
Yeah.
You know, young founders, probably good to get a few gray hairs on board. And, you know, older founders, let's bring in some innovators, some young people who've got, you know, different ideas and different technology and experience. So, yeah.
Is the harvest system, is that built in America? USA?
Yeah, so our control unit, that's what we make. It's built in Fremont here in California.
Oh, no way.
Locally manufactured. Wow. And then we use third-party heat pumps. Why? Because there are big companies out there who make very good heat pumps. They're very good at that. Let them do that. We take their heat pump and we make them better. And we reduce people's bills in the process.
Wow.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Guys, I hope you're really enjoying this. I just want to like kind of dive deep and kind of dissect what we've been saying. So, you know, for the audience, I mean, Dr. Jane really just stumbled upon a problem, was like, hey, like, there needs a solution. There's no solution. I'm going to answer that and I'm going to disrupt. And I think simplistically, like, you know, the best businesses just solve a problem to, you know, something that's not there yet. Right.
Yeah.
Were you scared at all at any point of the journey?
No. It is a roller coaster ride, right? I mean, it wouldn't be truthful to say as a founder, you got some really, really good days and you got some really, really tough days. A lot of that is tied to funding, right? So you got to go out, you got to raise your funds, you got to raise your grants. And you get a lot of no's before you get the yes. And I think probably there's the strongest message I'd have to people out there, which is if you find you're not getting funding, you are not alone, right? I've spoken to many founders, many CEOs, and very successful ones, and said, phew, that fundraise took me 9 months and I was on it every day, 7 days a week. And that's success. So it's just hard. And so just keep going, and you'll get there in the end. So fundraising,
that's amazing advice.
Well, this question,
so good.
Fundraising is tough. Fundraising is tough. Just, you know, tell your story, craft it, refine it, and keep going.
You might have already answered this, but what does a bad day look like for a founder of Harvest or any startup?
So, I mean, it's, you know, when you've really put your heart and soul into maybe a grant proposal, and you just know you're the right fit, and you get a no, or you've just been. You spent a lot of time and a lot of the team's time really fine-tuning, you know, investor presentations, do a customer visit. Everything's yes. You get a verbal yes, and then you get an email no. I mean, those are hard because you're on the high and then you come.
Yeah.
But that's
face.
life, right? You just got to be, you know, figure out go and do what, I go and work out or read a book or go do whatever you need to do and breathe and then get back up.
Yeah, you look like you have a dying question.
I guess after you've worked with so many startups, I just kind of want to hear, like, what do you think is the biggest mistake that most startups kind of tend to make?
So I think one of the challenges being too scattered and trying to do too many things. One of the first solar startup I joined, when I joined, we had 5 different product lines. We're a small company. I mean, we were a well-funded small company, but it's really hard to manage 5 different technologies and develop them and patent them and make them robust. And we actually, we had a new CEO come on board and he said, we're going down to 1, guys. Pick it, and it's going to be hard, but you got to pick the one. And we did. And with Harvest, it's a similar thing. We get, for us, the pool is I've had people from Australia calling me. I've had some people from Australia just calling me every 2 weeks saying, when you're coming to Australia, when you're coming to Australia. I would love to take Harvest to Australia. Absolutely. But we have to focus. And focus for us, we are a physical product, right? It's all about the controls and the software, but it's a physical widget going in your home. What that means is you have to start by being relatively local.
Yeah.
So we started Bay Area, then we went to all of California, now the Pacific Northwest, Oregon and Washington and Colorado. But I can't just leapfrog into Australia. That will impact everybody else.
Different time zone, different team. That's going to be necessary. Different regulations with God knows how Australia works it,
That's right. It takes a pool of resources to do that. So you got to resist. You got to say no.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, sometimes you just want to say yes, though.
Oh, you
yes,
do.
let's take over the world.
I'm just learning to say more no. But I think there's a phase and a chapter in your life when you must say yes more than no. And then once you hit a certain milestone, that's when you got to say more no's than yes.
No, and actually, I think you're absolutely right, Brian. In fact, one of the learnings I heard early on was a job of a founder is to say yes. But it's saying yes to what? It's saying yes to, do you want to come and speak at this conference? Do you want to come and meet this person? Say yes, say yes, say yes, say yes. Do you want to move your company to, Germany? You want to think about that a bit more before doing it, right? Different trade. And why say yes? Because, sometimes you're super busy, you're tired, and you're done. But it is those relationships, that's how you build a startup. And when I think back to our first funding, I find it hard to figure out how I got that connection. But it certainly was not a direct connection. It was somebody who introduced me to somebody, who introduced me to somebody, who introduced me to somebody, who invested money in the company. So you got to say yes. And it's worth it. And it's a lot of fun too. You just got to do it.
I have a question. Do you have a legal department or something looking over because when you take money, and this is something I've learned recently, you have to read the fine prints.
Yep.
Because you can give up a lot. You can give up more than you bargained for. Did you have experience with that going into the startup, or did you have to rely on
I knew enough to know I needed help.
Okay.
We do not have anybody in-house, but we have a very good lawyer outside. And there are lots of lawyers who are focused on small companies and startups. And so find a lawyer who's experienced not just startups, but startups and midterm companies, right, to help you grow. And they should be in your court, looking after your interests, reading this for your company and you as a founder, and making sure that obviously negotiation is always two-way, so you can't go crazy, but you've got to at least look after the interests of the company.
Love that. That's great. Well, I'm gonna make a segue since we're on the subject of building out your team. In the beginning, how was it like building your team? Like, who was part of that, or was it just maybe like you guys were trying to go lean as possible and you guys had your hands more into that? How did that process go of building your team, and who was part of it?
And also, I'm gonna ask, who was your first hire?
Right.
That's important, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we started off 3 founders. So myself, a friend who is an HVAC engineer, and my partner, who also happens to work in the clean tech space. And that's how we started the company. I, of course, had been working in clean energy for a long time, so I knew a boatload of people. So I then started reaching out to some of the people I've known and worked with for many years. And the first person I reached out to was a guy called Dr. Evan Green. He and I started working together at the solar company, Sol Focus, and he headed up hardware design, development, and manufacturing. And so I called him up a few months after founding the company, asked him to join, and he joined. Wasn't able to pay him anything.
Wow.
But, he was like me, working, a few hours at night, weekends. And then when I was able to get grants in, was able to start to begin to compensate him. And then, he's been full-time for several years now. So that was first hire, getting the right person who could not just, we've got a technology that works. You've got to make that into a product. And that's a lot of really thoughtful engineering. How is it going to be reliable? Is it going to be durable? Is it going to be manufacturable? Is it going to be cost effective? How do you put the patents in place? All those things that he really is a master of.
Yeah.
So that was first hire. And then the second one was similar on the software side.
Okay.
Harvest is about controls. We do predictive demand. How much heat is your house going to need in the next 24 hours? We do modeling of the heat battery to make sure we know its state of charge. It's all about the controls. So bringing on the right people with a startup software experience. Again, somebody I'd known for 10 years. So really trusted, brought him on board, and that was really super helpful. And then from then, as we're able to progressively get funding, we were progressively able to bring more people on board.
Who handles sales for your company?
So,
or how is getting the message out there, and how are people finding Harvest?
So right now I have transitioned to Chief Revenue Officer role, which I'm excited about, which is
Congrats,
this is like a few weeks old.
Congratulations.
So right now it's me. Before that I had a VP of Sales, VP of Marketing, and I still have them. I'm now working in their court. And it's all about communicating. It's all about thinking about how do we optimize that lead generation? How do we, what is the message that's going to resonate? How do we bring people on board and give them the information that they need to be able to make the decision? And how do we make sure that we are able to support that by having a really strong network of contractors that we can trust who are going to do an excellent job in your home and deploy our system? And so, so we're working, most of our homes are single family or duplexes in California. We've also done a couple of the large multifamily properties recently, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way of scaling. We've also done a few new homes, for example, with KB Home, new properties.
Yeah?
And that's somewhere where we're going to, that's relatively modest at the moment, but that's also a future channel for growth for Harvest.
I mean, they're nationwide builders, and
They
now it's
are.
about getting into
They
all
are
the other
huge.
builders.
Yeah.
What was harder? Was it building the tech or building the company?
I think building the company.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you say that? Yeah.
Both are tricky. Technology, building the tech, you get the right people on board, get the rock stars on board, and they can do it as long as they have enough time, right? And they need money to pay their mortgages and so on. But the technology is solvable. Building a company, there are so many macroeconomic factors out there of which you don't have control.
Yeah.
There's the funding cycle. There's also what's happening to interest rates, what's
Yeah.
happening in the policy sector. I mean, just so many things. So there's a roller coaster of things you don't necessarily control. So that's hard.
I think I would agree with you, because it's like building the product, but if you can't sell it and make it profitable and keep the business running, then that's a whole different animal, right?
One reason I'm so excited right now is that, one of the things that you're really aspiring to as a founder is, do you have product market fit? What does that mean? Is this widget, this device you've dreamt up and developed, do people actually want it? Are people actually willing to buy it? Do they want to use it on a day-to-day basis? We've now got hundreds of systems in homes.
Yeah.
That is product market fit.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, this is a really nice place to be. And now the next step is the product works. Our customers love it. We've got rock star, customer satisfaction. What that means is it works really well, delivers all your heat, your hot water. It's simple to use. It's quiet, et cetera, et cetera. It works really well. The next job is, okay, so how do we get the word out? How do we get more people to come in, and be, come and put it in their homes and start having the Harvest experience?
Yeah. Love that.
I love the name. How did you guys come up with the name, the Harvest Experience?
Harvest.
Sounds good.
Well, the company's Harvest, but I just love the way you said it.
So Harvest, it's all about, we're harvesting multiple things.
Yeah.
We're harvesting electricity in the middle of the day when it's cleanest and cheapest, right?
Yeah.
It's often from solar. Even if you don't have solar panels on your roof On the grid in the middle of the day, it's mostly solar electricity, to be honest. So then we're storing it just as you could store up, your harvest. We're storing that for later use.
Yeah.
And so I also feel that harvest has a feel good. It is safe and comfortable and reliable, and that's what harvest is as well.
Love it. I want to ask. Oh,
Go ahead.
I just want to ask this question. Since we're talking about like product market fit, and I'm curious because I know for the first 9 months to maybe a year, you guys are working on grants. You're working on finalizing the prototype. When it's time and the product is finalized, how do you guys go about like launch day, and how was that for you guys on your first like launch?
So first of all, I would say it's iterative, right? I'd say the product is never done. We're continuing to improve our product, as everybody always does. We started with prototypes, and we were able to put in place pilot programs.
Oh, yes.
Pilots are really great for startups, particularly if you've got a product that goes into people's homes. So a pilot with a utility, Peninsula Clean Energy, that was very valuable for us, and it allowed us to get independently measured data on the performance of our system. So in a way, and I'm sorry if I'm not answering directly, but
No worries.
A startup is like you're climbing a mountain, and it always feels like, oh, wow, this is hard.
Yeah.
And then every now and then you turn around, you look back, and you think, wow, look how far we've come.
Yeah.
Like every 3 months, it's like you're in a different company.
Yeah.
But then you turn around, and you think, oh, there's still a long way to go.
Yeah.
And so it's like that with the product. I wouldn't say there was a day where like, oh, it's done.
Yeah.
Moving forward, it was like we did the first like prototype in our basement, and then you start to get pilots in, a few volunteers. We had 5 customers like, yeah, we understand that we want to do it. Then we got the pilot with the Peninsula Clean Energy, which allowed us to get grants. The grants took us to, I'd say, the current form factor of our product, and that's the one that really is working and beginning to grow quite significantly.
Love that.
And the nice thing is you were always improving the software, the controls, but existing customers, they get an over-the-air update. So they're able to benefit from that as well. So that's a good thing.
Love that. I just want to ask again too. I'm a little bit like in a different area of this, and this is a little bit more new to me. So also for the viewers, I want to ask like, what can you describe what like a pilot launch is?
A pilot launch. So for us, we deployed 5 systems in homes in the peninsula in the Bay Area. And so we had them installed by contractors, put them in place.
Is it like free also too, like free of charge?
Yeah, for those customers, they were subsidized by the utility. So they did not have to pay out of pocket.
Okay.
But that's fine. I mean, they're taking a risk, putting a
for
system
sure.
in their
For
home.
sure.
Get a break.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And so they did that. And also in exchange, also for a year, there was independent monitoring and verification happening to make sure the system was doing what we said it was doing.
Yeah.
So that's what a pilot really is. It's putting the system in and allowing somebody else to test it and measure it for you and then publish the results.
I love it. It's like the same concept of just like, give people for free, right? Let them test and then kind of just see that. I mean, I've only known it from, I've known it from like a service-based area, but I can see the similarity as well. Yeah. To all the listeners, like, guys, this is amazing stuff. Amazing stuff.
What was the biggest hurdle building Harvest? I mean, was it the funding again or the team? Well, just want to be curious with that.
I mean, funding is a challenge. On the other hand, funding is a challenge and a blessing.
Yes.
Right? There are cases, and people may laugh when I hear that, there are cases when you actually have too much funding, in that I know companies where they got a boatload of funding and then they didn't use it very, very well. And what ends up happening, they've taken a lot of money into the company and they haven't necessarily grown. And when they go around to fund the next round, they do what they call a down round and they lose value on the company. So you've got to be very careful how much you raise. It's actually good to raise, progressively growing amounts to match the scale at which you want to grow. But I would say funding is the biggest headache, particularly 2023, 2024 were pretty tricky years. And you know what? 2025 is not looking that much better. So just,
Really?
Yeah, just be strong and just keep going.
I thought
there is money
I thought it
out
would
there.
be a lot better.
Well, I think there are macroeconomic uncertainty, and that means that people with money are more worried about taking risk.
Agreed.
Right? What's happening with imports, exports, tariffs? What does that mean for my personal portfolio as a funder? And therefore, they might be a little bit more cautious.
Yeah.
Not all of them. There is money out there, but it's just a little bit. You've got to jump through a few more hoops.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna. I think I'm worried too. That's why we in our meetings, I'm very watching the money.
Yeah.
because the interest rates haven't gone down as we wanted it to. I think consumer confidence is still kind of shaky, but I feel like with this is saving you money. So I feel like you would be kind of recession proof.
Yeah, from a product perspective, it's really, really strong. I mean, we are, a lot of people, if your furnace is getting old, the time is to replace it. You want to replace it with something that's going to save you money, not just this year, but for the next 20 years. We can do that. We can take advantage of any time of use rates that the utility throw at us, and we're going to always save you money. And, right now it's actually a really good time because there are some very good tax credits. There are also some very strong rebates, both statewide in California and in other states, and also both locally. So, right now, if you go for a Harvest system, if you wanted to add up the cost of putting in a gas furnace, a gas water heater, and a gas AC, would be around that. So, that or maybe a little bit less. And at the same time, we're saving you on bills. And you've got a heat pump. It's clean. It's quiet. It's a higher level experience in your home. I used to have a gas furnace in a closet in my hallway, right outside my daughter's bedroom. And it would roar on at 5:30 in the morning.
Yep, it's pretty loud too. I'm just thinking, mine's in the laundry room and it's kind of loud. Yeah,
and then it switches off, and then half an hour later it roars on.
Yeah,
and then it switches off.
Yeah.
With a Harvest system, you don't get that. I mean, it's quiet. It's steady. In fact, in winter, it's funny. I'm sitting at home in a t-shirt, and I don't have any cues that my heating system is on because there's no noise, there's no draft. And I'll go outside and think, whoa, wait a minute, it's cold outside.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't aware it's winter because it's just quiet and steady. It's just the right temperature. No fuss, no noise.
Yeah, it just does its thing in the background. Huh?
Yeah.
This is more for those, this next question is going to be for those who have that what next, right? And so you guys just secured $4 million in funding. What does that look like for Harvest?
Yeah, so we got $4 million in funding plus some grants.
Oh, wow.
So, which is good. Grants are wonderful.
Can you get a new company car and just drive it around? I'm just asking for a friend.
So, no, I mean, we're at that exciting position where we've got this product market fit, and it's now all about grow. It's all about how do we get the word out? Our name is Harvest, which is a nice name, but people don't know it. So how do we get the word out and get people coming in so that we can, click Get Harvest on the website, talk to us, tell us your zip code. We'll tell you, we'll put you in touch with a contract in your area. We'll tell you what rebates and tax credits you may be eligible for. And then, we can get you going with Harvest system. So it's really about building the market momentum and scaling, because it's about saving people bills. It's about making the grid more resilient, because we are very grid flexible, so it's good for the grid. But it's also about, cutting emissions by 90% compared to the gas furnace.
Yeah.
And so, as we were chatting before, part of the business is about the impact. You can only have impact if you save people money, and Harvest does both.
Yeah.
In fact, one stat which is really important is, when you think about HVAC, in fact, most people don't think about HVAC. I didn't think about HVAC before I founded the company. Nobody thinks about it. But you're using more energy on HVAC than you are on your vehicle. Transitioning from gas to a Harvest system saves more emissions than transitioning from a gasoline car to an electric vehicle. It's the biggest single thing that most people can do to reduce their household emissions.
You guys hear that? So don't buy the Tesla. Get a Harvest system.
Absolutely.
All right.
Clip that.
Yeah.
Love it.
This is great. I think I want to shift the focus a little bit, because you're a female founder, one of the best, actually. What is one piece of advice that you can give other female founders, and just in general, founders in general, for those who are kind of on the fence, they don't want to start, they don't know where to start? Should they go work for someone and work at a startup, or should they just go right into it?
So for me, working for someone and learning was great. It really gave me the confidence that you actually need to start a company, and to be able to stand your own and make decisions and be confident that, might not be a perfect decision, but based on my experience, I feel this is the right way to go. So for me, that experience was very useful to allow me to lead appropriately. But some people, but also I didn't have the Harvest idea earlier on, right? I had that. So maybe if that idea had come earlier, maybe I would have jumped sooner.
No.
So in terms of female founders, I mean, being a founder is tough across the board. And then for some of us, it's a little tougher than others, but it's tough for everybody. So it will be a fight, whatever. There are certain investment funds that are going to welcome you, right? There are angel groups that really try and support female founders. There are angel groups that try and support African-American founders. So go for the mainstream ones, but also go for the ones where they're going to be really in your court as well. You can get a mix of both.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's really helpful.
That's
like
really real
that
help.
would motivate me, to be honest.
Because it's hard. I mean, certain industries are certain types of people, right? And when you don't fit it, it can be a little bit more difficult. And so you just have to find what works and find your tribe, basically.
I mean, I think we've all had bad experiences.
Yeah.
And that can be one of those bad days. But there are also a lot of good experience of people who are saying, we're rooting for you, Jane.
Yeah.
We are in your camp. What can we do to help?
Yeah.
And so you got to take the good and the bad. But sometimes it's tricky as well.
How do you get out of your slump? When you we were talking earlier that you go onto the pitch and everything sounds good. They say yes. And then later on you get an email that says no. How do you get out of that slump?
For me, it's getting outside. I think for a lot of us, it's getting outside. It can be going for a super long walk.
Yeah.
Or it can be going to the gym. That's what I need to do. And then sometimes it's actually changing my mindset by reading a book or watching a movie. Just, and then move on, keep going. Yeah,
I agree.
I love it. Do you have any maybe daily personal development habits as a founder that help you on your journey?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's about staying healthy. So I do like keeping fit and working out a lot. I think that's really important for me to give me the energy and also feel I'm looking after myself and not just working. So I do exercise most days a week. Not every day, but most days a week.
Daily podcasts or books? Is it that kind of your style, or is it more just take action, go and just get in it?
Take action, go and get in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, maybe I'm gonna stop reading now.
I know. At different styles, right? I know there are people who are going to put meditation in their schedule, and I do maybe a little bit, but it's more like 5 minutes. It's not 30 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, if you're trying to build a business, everybody could say I'm gonna read more. It's gonna help. I'm gonna work out. It's gonna help. But at the end of the day, you just have to take action and make sure you're working on the business and not just doing things to make it look sexy for the business.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I would say get as much of the reading done before you found the business. Yeah. and then you can carry on doing some as well. I mean, you're wait a minute, I need to read about marketing or something. Go for it. I did that. Go and do that. But, if you're thinking of becoming a founder, read the books. There's some great books out there. So Lean Startup and, a bunch of others. So
you talked about reading about marketing. So now as you guys have all this capital, are you going to try to figure out the marketing, or are you going to hire somebody that already knows the marketing?
I have an amazing VP of marketing.
Perfect.
If you look at our website, it's all Trent. He's great.
I'm going to look him up.
Well, that's why I asked, because I want the listeners to know sometimes it's better to just stick to your strength and hire the professional or the person that genuinely is good at that job role that you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when we made our first site, we put our best step forward, and I thought it was pretty good. And then Trent came along, and I thought, oh, that was not good. This is
I'm sure
much
he's
better.
doing amazing, because that's how I found you on
Trent.
one of your websites as well.
Shout out to Trent.
It's also about being distinctive. We're in the HVAC industry.
Yeah.
If you go onto many HVAC websites,
Terrible.
well, you're going to. I mean, I'm sure they're doing a good job, but it's basically a guy in a plaid shirt in front of a heat pump.
Yeah.
Go on our website and check it out.
Oh, I'm
It's a little
excited.
different.
I'm going to take some notes.
It's really interactive, and it's not just text and images and stuff like that. So I think it's really great.
Trent, this is important. Did he have another job before coming on to Harvest?
He's an ex-Googler.
Oh. And now, was he, when you pitched him the idea, was he already at another job, or was he?
So Google had a number of layoffs a while back. So he was just in transition. And this is also that piece of string, right? So I found Trent through somebody who I knew through somebody else. and who realized that I needed a good person in marketing, and she said, hire Trent.
Hire Trent.
That was that.
I like that. Well, sometimes the next question is, how did you get him to buy into the vision? Is that something that you can share with the audience? Is it the passion? Because I feel the passion.
Yeah, a lot of harvesters, as we call ourselves, we're all pretty motivated by our mission because the product saves bills and cuts emissions by 90%. No other heat pump system out there can do that. People are really jazzed about that. They're really proud of what we do. And so people work for Harvest really for that. It's exciting to come to work when you feel you're having an impact.
All right, listeners, if you have a company that does not have that kind of impact, you just have to have her passion. Really, she probably doesn't know it. Maybe you do. But when you're talking about Harvest, you're so passionate that I just know the company's going to do so well, and I want to get behind it.
Well, thank you. I certainly hope so. But I think founders found for a reason.
Yeah.
And a reason is usually passion.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not founding a company because I find this really boring.
Yeah.
I'm founding a company because I think this is a really good way of doing something different or better or cheaper or faster or more beautiful than what is done before. Communicate that. Share the why.
Oh my, I love it. I'm like moved just by listening
I
to
got to
it.
share the why with them more.
Yeah. Well, you got to go revisit the whys.
What's something you wish you knew before starting Harvest that you can maybe share, maybe on a more technical side or for others that want to start a company? What's something you wish you knew before starting it?
I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
Being part of a startup, even a leadership role, is not the same as leading the startup. And so I have learned a lot, particularly on the legal side, on the fundraising side, on the patent side, all those things. What do I wish I knew? I think it's such a hard question. I would say it's I'm really getting an appreciation for the art of performance marketing, lead generation, communication, and these are things that I continue to work on every day. Because you can have a great product if you can't convey that and communicate that and share that with people, you're nowhere. So I think that's the thing that I'm, obviously I am learning, continually, always striving to be better at. And I think I've come a ways, but I would have been good if I'd known better before starting. Yeah.
I feel like you're a very good communicator. Did that come from founding Harvest, or were you always a pretty good communicator?
So I'd say I've always been a decent communicator, and then I've honed it by speaking to folks like you, by speaking to conferences, by speaking to a lot of investors, and getting a lot of no's, and then getting
learn
a
to
few
articulate
yeses.
a lot faster.
Yeah,
I'm imagined with these investors, they're like, hurry up. What's the point?
it depends. Yeah, sometimes yes.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that investors say is that when you're talking to an investor, you're not selling the product, you're selling the business.
Yeah.
And that's something that as a founder, you're so used to talking about my baby, my product is amazing. You've got to be able to convey this business is going to make sense for you, investor, to invest in. That is a mental switch, which I've learned. And actually that's an important one for any founder to learn.
I would say so. I mean, with the exception of a few founders, a lot of them are very good at public speaking, getting in front of a stage, pitching, the whole nine. And that comes down to your communication skills. Yep. And I want to quote somebody, I think I saw it on TikTok, but you can only go as high as your communication will allow you, like as good as your communication is. Basically, if you suck at speaking, you're just not going to run a very good company.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Dumb it down. if you can't, because if you're not very good at communicating, you cannot get engineers to work with you. You cannot get Trent to work with you. You cannot
voice out the problems.
Exactly. You can't get investors to believe in you if you just cannot speak confidently, clearly, passionately. And that's all, I think, a skill that can actually be learned. Passion can be faked. It really can.
Can.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
few more questions. I want to be respectful of your time. Where do you see the residential energy tech heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
So first of all, there's a kind of a sea change happening where we used to all put gas furnaces in our homes, and now most people are putting heat pumps in. So I think heat pumps are the way to go. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail, but fundamentally, I think heat pumps with thermal storage is really going to take over the market because it is cost effective, it is durable, it is safe, it is grid friendly. I mean, that is the way that we electrify our homes in millions and tens of millions of homes. So I see that really being a massive transition. So heat pumps, but I think, I'd say right now we've got what we call Gen 1 heat pumps. They're great, but what we're doing is a Gen 2 heat pump. So it's like a heat pump, but it's better, cleaner, smarter, and more grid friendly. And that is scalable.
Do you think you'll ever stop?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Just curious. I mean, I get asked because people ask, will you ever retire? I just want to ask you because
I doubt it.
Would you ever sell Harvest?
What I want is for Harvest to grow.
Yeah.
And so that may be partnering with somebody to help us piggyback and grow even faster. But I see myself always being with Harvest. Yeah.
I love it. I'm sorry. I just love everything. Like, it's just so cool, like, to see the passion, the drive to, really make a big difference in the world. Right. Yeah. And to not just, sometimes people get the questions like, oh, I'm building the business so I could exit. Right. But like this one, it's just to continually push the evolution of the world.
Well, to be honest, each step of the journey it's a new ride, right? Mm-hmm. It's all, as I mentioned before, you're just going up different steps. And right now we're in this stage of product market fit. Let's grow. And that's fun. It's like a new adventure each time. So I'm happy.
Yeah. Sometimes it's chasing the growth. I mean, life is boring if you don't have a purpose.
Yeah. 100%.
Right? Life
Absolutely.
gets, if I've tried it, I've taken 2 weeks off and I don't know what to do with myself. I'm like, I got to get back to work. It's not fun. The beaches are only fun when you have something to work for, and like then it becomes fun because you say, oh, we're celebrating a big win at Harvest, or we're celebrating a big win at one of our real estate things. It's like, all right, let's go. Yeah. And then you go right back to it, and then it drives you more.
Yeah.
It never stops, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what I want the listeners to know. It never stops. You don't want to stop. Mia, what do you want to know? A couple final questions.
One last thing. I just want to know, how big is your team right now?
So we're about 20 people.
Whoa.
So still quite small.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, that's a lot.
And within these 20 people, how do you kind of keep the culture going, keep making sure everyone is as motivated as you are?
So, it's all about, keeping connection, right? We're a distributed team. We have regular meetings. We try and have fun at those meetings. We try and do periodic, let's get everybody together and meet face to face. And it's just really about having those all hands where we get to chat and not just say me or one of the other leaders talking. We get everybody else to talk as well. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, guys, around the table, give us 2 minutes on something, your hobby or whatever it is, or what you want to do, or so that we actually get sharing.
I love that.
And then try and do local events. Let's go and have dinner. Let's go and do something like that.
How well? So the 20 people, are they all in the Bay Area?
No, we got about half in the Bay Area, half in SoCal.
Oh, so you have to fly much?
Yeah.
Can we use the grant money for that?
No. You cannot use grant money for that.
Okay, but you can use investors' money.
You can use investors' money.
All right.
That.
I'm just making sure to understand what
uses.
we can use the grant money for.
Different uses. Grant money is wonderful, but it's very, very prescriptive.
Okay, and you don't have to pay back a grant, right?
No.
Oh, fantastic!
Wow,
I know, that's awesome. No, that is. I'm learning a lot because we're now a pretty big team with all the offices, and it's getting so hard. Managing different offices.
I'm impressed. Yeah.
Well, I'm impressed with you because actually, at least I can still drive to my offices because that's one of the main things that we try to do is keep it close enough to where we can visit. Mm-hmm. And I'm taking notes. Right, we are trying to throw a little bit more events, but it is hard to get that many people together.
But you can do it in small groups. We don't have to get everybody together.
Yeah.
The SoCal folks may actually go out for a hike. I'm not invited, and that's fine. Just go out for a hike. It's fine.
Did you guys know the San Jose office is having a Cabo retreat.
Wow.
or
Like
something.
separate?
Separate.
That's messed up.
No. I when I saw that, I was like, oh, I didn't get invited. But then I thought about it. I said,
pretty cool.
This is really cool.
It's really cool.
Because they are now like a little you know, we're one big family.
Yeah.
We're the parent company, but then it's like now you got the little cousins over there, and it's like it's kind of cool.
Yeah, they need to bring me though so I could shoot the videos.
No, they don't want you there.
That's really good.
I'm just
That's
kidding. I'm
great.
joking with it.
But that's amazing though.
They would love to have you come.
Okay, I'll ask.
Just need to get a passport.
Yeah, you know.
Okay, anyways, it's not about me.
But I can't imagine one day Harvest being across multiple countries and you at the helm of all of it.
There are a lot of opportunities, right? I mean, this is a problem in the US, right? But everywhere, like in Europe, Australia, Asia, there are a lot of opportunities for this. And everybody's moving to heat pumps. And so we do heat pumps better.
Yeah. What's one last advice or word that you would like to tell the audience?
Well, I mean, why don't you check us out?
Yeah.
Have a look at harvestthermal.com and take a look, give us comments, feedback. And if you have a house and an old gas furnace, give it a try.
Well, let's get her name and her company out there, guys. So let's share. We'll put the link down below in the bio and the YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify, it's getharvest.com or what's
Harvest.
Green.
Green.
Harvest.green. There you go. .com.
Harvest.green.
Harvest.green.
All right, everybody. So thank you so
edit it
much.
out. Harvest.green.
Everybody. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Dr. Jane Melia, for coming on the show. Honestly, I'm very inspired. I know the listeners definitely got a lot out of it. And if they want to check you out, go to harvest.green.
Is there any other way that they can connect with you?
I think that's the best way.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Check out the products.
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you on the next one. Share this with a couple friends, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.